Hi! Today we're going to be going over how to solve for a quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula. Generally, we use this quadratic formula when a quadratic equation cannot be factored easily. When things are factored, it makes the solving process so much easier, but sometimes we just can't factor everything. That's where the quadratic formula comes in handy. What is the quadratic formula? It's this right over here. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. There's a lot of work to do here, but we're going to go over a couple of examples so that way you feel comfortable with solving for this, okay? The first thing that we want to do is notice this over down here. We have to make sure that first our quadratic equation is in standard form. We also have to make sure that our a value doesn't equal 0, and that this over here, b squared minus 4ac, also known as the discriminant, is greater than or equal to 0. As long as we have these conditions, we are able to solve for our equation. So let's go ahead and start out. Over here for a, we have 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 equals 0. Notice here, it is already in standard form, so we don't have to change it into standard form, okay? Next, what we have to do is identify what is our a value, our b value, and our c value. So our a value here is positive 2, our b value is negative 5, and our c value is a positive 3. And we're going to substitute all of these values into the quadratic equation, or the quadratic formula rather. So I'll put this off to the side. And then let's go ahead and substitute all of these values right over here. So x is going to equal negative b. Our b value here is negative 5. So I'm going to put minus 5, negative 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared. So b squared is negative 5 squared minus 4 times a times c. So 4 times 2, because a equals 2, times c, which is 3. I'm just going to extend my radical so we know it's all underneath. And then all over, so we're dividing all of that by 2a. Oopsies. No. 2 times a. 2 times 2. And then we go ahead and solve this. So let's simplify this. So x, I'll do it a different color, x equals negative 5 is the same thing as positive 5 plus or minus the square root of negative 5 squared, which is negative 5 times negative 5, so positive 25, minus 4 times 2 times 3. So 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 3 is 24, so 25 minus 24, all over 2 times 2, which is 4. All right, let's go ahead and solve within this radical. So x is going to equal 5 plus or minus the square root of 1, 25 minus 24, all over 4. So notice here, we have the square root of 1. Let's simplify that. 5 plus or minus 1 over 4. So notice here, we're going to have two solutions. What is our first solution going to be here? Our first solution number 1, can be 5 plus 1 over 4, which is just 5 plus 1 is 6 over 4. And we could simplify 6/4 into 3/2. So 3/2 is our first solution if we add. And what is our second solution going to be? It's going to be 5 minus 1 over 4. 5 minus 1 is 4, and 4 over 4 is just 1. So we have two solutions here. Our solutions can be x equals 3/2, or x can equal 1. Awesome. If we were to substitute x back into the original equation with 3/2 or 1, it should equal 0. So we have just solved this quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula. Let's try another example for good measure, okay? So over here, I have 3 values. again. So let's use the quadratic formula to solve this. Again, we're going to use this, but in order for us to use the quadratic formula, we need to make sure that our equation is in standard form. Looking at it, it is not in standard form. So what do we need to do to both sides to make it into standard form? Let's subtract 10 on both sides. So move everything to one side of the equation, so that way it equals 0. So now what are we going to have? 1/2 x squared plus x minus 10 equals 0. And now we can identify our a value, our b value, and our c value. We know that a does not equal 0. And let's just make sure that b squared minus 4ac is greater than or equal to 0, actually. All right, so let's take a look. Our a value is going to be 1/2. Our b value is going to be, well, if there's an x, there's that imaginary 1 right before it. So our b value is 1. And then our c value is going to be -10. So let's go do the same exact process, but this time just with different numbers. Let's use this quadratic formula. So x is going to equal -b, which is just negative +1, plus or minus the square root of b squared. So b squared is going to be 1 squared. I don't know why I write my ones like that. 1 squared minus 4ac. So 4 times a, which is 4 times 1/2, times c, which is -10. Let me just extend this. Cool. And then all over 2a. So all over 2 times 1/2. Multiplying fractions, don't be scared. You just have to multiply all the way across. I'll show you how to do it. Let's go ahead and simplify this. We don't like how this looks. So x is going to equal -1 is just simply, let's get rid of those parentheses, -1, -1, plus or minus the square root of 1 squared, which is just 1, minus 4 times 1/2 times -10. I'll do this right over here, okay? So -4, or actually I'll just go 4. 4 times 1/2 is the same thing as 4 over 1 times 1/2. And what is that? We multiply across. So 4 over 2, which is just 2. So now this is going to be 2 times -10. I gave the answer. And 2 times -10 is -20. All right. So now we have 1 minus a, oops, that's embarrassing. I have to charge my iPad. Minus -20. Okay. All over 2 times 1/2. Well, 2 times 1/2 is just 2 over 2, which is just 1. So over 1. And then let's go ahead and fix inside the radical. So x equals, -1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus a -20 is the same thing as 1 plus 20. So 21, square root of 21. It is not a perfect square, so we'll just leave it as radical 21 all over 1. The cool thing here is anything over 1 is just itself, so we can simplify this again to -1 plus or minus the square root of 21. So you can leave your answer like this in any other occasion, but I want you to actually solve for the variable x here, okay? So we're gonna have two solutions. What are our solutions? Solution number 1 is going to be -1 plus root 21. And then solution 2 is going to be -1 minus root 21. Let's go ahead and pop this into a calculator to see what value we're going to get, okay? So if I put here -1 plus the square root of 21, well, first of all, the square root of 21 is 4.58257569, but I like 2 decimals, so we're going to just round it to 2 decimals. So -1 plus root 21 is going to give us a value of 3.58. And then negative 1 minus the square root of 21 is going to give us negative 5.58. So we have two solutions here. Solution 1 is 3.58, and then solution 2 is negative 5.58. And that's how you use the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations. Okay, that's it. Bye.